Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. I am Pete, this is the Evercade, and this is 5 more MMOs you need to check out and play on your Steam Deck. Yes, 5 more. The first video I did in the series was, I think, a little over 3 months ago. Go check that out. There's series 1 where I talked about 5 MMOs at a time, but since then I've played and explored a bunch of new MMORPGs, both free-to-play, buy-to-play, subscription-based, on the deck. And I've had some fantastic results. I've had some results that left me a little wanting more, some frustrational moments with controls and lack of controls and intuitiveness, and just questions that left me a little bit like, this works on console. Why aren't there no console controls on a Steam Deck console? Things like that. But I love doing these videos. I know a lot of people they say, oh, it's another top 5, it's whatever. But these are 5 games that I think you should check out if you like MMORPGs, you like any of the subject matter of these MMOs, or you just like fun gaming in general, or you like a good freebie, because quite a few of them are free on there. I think all but one is free right now to try, and hopefully you enjoy it. So make sure you go check out that first video after you check this one out, and make sure you hit that subscribe and smash that like button, because it really means a lot to me. And just to let you know a little bit about who I am as a gamer, I'm someone who considers themselves a buffet gamer, especially with MMOs. I kind of get burned out on MMOs if I play it more than a couple weeks at a time. I tend to need a break because I put myself so much into that world. I immerse myself into the story, into the gameplay, and I like having another MMO from a separate IP, a separate genre, just a separate experience, a different experience to kind of take my mind out of that. And that kind of, pulses out to my gaming in general. I tend not to stick with a game consecutively for more than a few weeks, and I'll always go back to it, and that's the beauty of owning the game, right? You can always go back and play it and pick it back up, and it feels new and fresh. So just take that in mind when you hear me bounce around from games. It's because that's an intentional kind of thing about who I am as a gamer. Let me know, are you a buffet gamer, or are you one and you need to stick with the game right to its end and then you transition to a new game? Let me know in the comments, but let's get started, okay? Alright, the first game on our list is Adventure Quest 3D. Yes, a free-to-play game on the Steam Deck, and I stumbled onto this one. I was just looking for free-to-play games. I was looking for MMORPGs. I was just looking for something different, and, this one actually just something I stumbled upon, and I'm like, this looks really cool. That's kind of an old-school World of Warcraft kind of look to it, and the fact that it was free, and I checked it out on the Steam store, and it had very positive reviews. There was 45 recent reviews and over 8,000 total for the game, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to check this out. I'm going to see what this game is all about. And I got into it, and I must say, after getting a control scheme that I liked, it was right out of the box. I found something that I was pretty bit comfortable on, but I have to let you know, you have to use the actual touchscreen sometimes just to adjust the camera angle, stuff like that. But overall, it's a game that's, still on average, just on the Steam client, as like, a couple hundred people in the game chatting and stuff like that. But also, it's regularly updated. Like, as of this recording in March of 2023, this actually was getting an update, small patch update, stuff like that. So, what do I think about the game? Well, first of all, it's got a very interesting sense of humor in the game. It's kind of has this comic vibe to it. It's kind of a little bit over the top, which I don't mind at all. The dialogue is quite interesting when you read it, and it's kind of a traditional MMORPG. This game has been out quite a long while, and what I do like about it is the fact that it doesn't take itself too seriously. It takes a lot of the positives that World of Warcraft actually pioneered in a lot of ways, and especially the art style. I really like the art style. And you know what? It was originally a 2D Flash game, which was quite interesting, but it got converted over to phones, tablets, and eventually PC. So I really like it. There's a lot of variety and class choice in there. The quests are fairly, straightforward and things like that, but I like that. I like just a good, simple approach. Quest, level up, get new skills, have some fun. And like I said, it plays really decently on the Steam Deck. Now, it doesn't have official support. It's not a verified game, as most games I'm going to talk about today are not verified. I believe all of them are not verified. But this is a great little MMO for you to try, especially if you're like me, that I prefer kind of playing multiple MMOs at a time, because I kind of get burned out on it if I play too much of one MMO for a significant length of time. So here we go. Yeah, Adventure Quest 3 days. Great free game. Give it a try, and I think you'll find a lot of fun in there. Okay, the next game up is Rift Plains of Tera. This MMO has been around since 2011, and it was when it first came out, like many other MMOs, it was rivaled to be the next king of MMO. It's going to take down WoW. It's going to be a WoW killer, and it really never achieved that status at all. And it's gone through quite a few different like kind of alterations through the years, from subscriber base to buy to play to free to play, and but it's still out there and playable, and it is very playable on the Steam Deck. Now, first thing you have to understand with this game is you have to have a separate client on your Steam Deck installed, but you can install it directly from the game, Steam game, and you're going to have to download a client called Glyph, and then it'll work. You'll go through some installations. I've run it in compatibility mode, but once you get in, the first hurdle is find a control scheme that works for you on the gamepad and mouse. And it took me a little while, but I found one in there, and there's tons of gamepad support from the community out there, so grab one that you're comfortable with. It's very subjective, right? But I really got used to it. Now, this game, I played a crap ton of this game back in the day. When I say crap ton, at least 10 hours. I need to preface that. But I did play a good chunk of it back in the day. And, I thoroughly enjoyed it, but it felt like it was missing its soul a little bit at the time for me. I wasn't really pulled into the story. But after revisiting it and playing on my deck, I've got a new appreciation for this game. And it's one of those games that, it's got a decent review score. It's got a 7 out of 10 on Steam, but it's still actively being played on Steam, which is really, really cool. And you want to look at that, right? You want to look, when you're looking at an MMORPG, you want to look at whether it's still being played. Is there an active community out there? It's not super active. It's not huge on Steam, but there are people on the Steam community. But since it's cross play with regular PC, and I would assume that most people who have this game use it outside of Steam, you'll always find a few people in group chat in there to talk to. Now, it is tab targeting traditional combat in there. What their claim to fame on this game is the type of combinations you can make for your classes, and you can make some crazy class combinations in here. You can be like a ranged tank, an archer tank, if you want to be in this game. It just does so many cool, interesting things, and the fact that you can go grab this game. It is free to play. Of course, it has a free to play game shop. You got to be understand, but it's just a really fun game to get out there and enjoy. And I originally bought it back in the day, so I did never really experience the free to play until recently. I put a new build on there. I didn't rely on my old account, and I just going in and experience it. How does it run performance wise? It runs really good. There's nothing wrong with it. You have to use the touchscreen a little bit, but I think you still need to explore control schemes on this one. It's not perfect, but it's far from being unplayable. But yeah, I highly recommend this game, especially if you kind of want to go down in the World of Warcraft realm of style of games, but you want a little bit more freedom in your class selection. This is definitely the game for you. Alright, the next game on our list is Neverwinter Online, a Dungeons & Dragons game, and this game came out in 2013, and it is on Steam, obviously, and I had played this game previously on console and on PC, traditional mouse and keyboard, and I'm like, hey, I've got to try this on the Steam Deck. So I booted it up, and I learned a massive lesson after I did my initial video on this, is that you have to go in to the patcher, because you're going to need a patcher to download this game. But it's all you got to do is go to the Steam Deck store, click on Neverwinter, install it. It'll automatically install the patcher for you. But there's an important thing I need to stress in this game, because it'll frustrate you otherwise. Go into the patcher option settings before you load in the game and click the selection that says turn off on-demand patching. Once that's been disabled, it will require you to download the full game. Because if you don't do that, this game hangs up on every transition or load, because it's trying to do a on-demand patching. It just doesn't work on the deck. And I run this in compatibility mode. But anyway, just do that and you'll be fine. But one thing I'll let you know about, this game is built for consoles. It's built for controller input, so it plays flawlessly. It is awesome. I've actually played a significant, since I did my original video on this, I've played a lot of this game. I've started going through it again because they did a complete revamp, I want to say a year ago, where they did a level squish and went from level 60 back down to level 20. They removed a bunch of content from the game, so beware, you're not going to play the OG content, but they've streamlined the entire process. And it is really a fun game, but you have to be aware this has some extreme aggressive pay to win aspects when you get to max level. In order to be the top 1% of this game, you have to spend money. That's my opinion. It's unfortunate, but I don't spend a dime because it is free to play, and I only play for the story and the new modules that they put out. And they do update this game frequently. This game is constantly being updated. Actually, there's a new update coming out called Menzoberranzan that's coming out. If not, it might be out at this recording. This is March of 2023, but definitely it constantly gets updated, and it's very active on Steam. Now, most people are playing this game outside of Steam, I would assume, but on average, there's like anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 people on Steam actively playing this game, which is pretty big, and you'll always have an opportunity to run dungeons. And the Steam Deck itself, I've run dungeons on it. I've done all the content in this game via my Steam Deck, via handheld, and I've had no problem at all. It runs so smooth, it's like butter. Again, you need to do the thing I mentioned at the start, turn off on-demand patching, because then it'll be awesome. And that's for all of Cryptic's games, to be honest with you. Once you turn off that on-demand patching, the game works flawlessly, though you'll have a big footprint to download right away. This game, I believe, is 35 gigabytes, 40 gigabytes. So you need, and I must say that a lot of these games does require a big footprint in your memory space. But yeah, this game has so much content in it. Like I said, it's been out for quite a while now, 10 years, tons of content, constantly getting new content. So highly recommend. It's free to play. You got really nothing to lose but temporary memory on your Steam Deck. Highly recommend this game. Again, knowing if you don't plan on spending money, great. But if you want to be competitive end game, I'd probably stay away from this game. If you've been around my channel any amount of time, you've probably heard me talk about some of my favorite IPs out there in the world. Those being Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, and Star Trek. And now Game of Thrones. But I love Star Trek. I have made no bones about it. I've been a Star Trek fan since the original series. I love it. And I've played this game significantly on PC, on PlayStation 4. I've played it a bunch. But I kind of got away from it in the last couple of years, and I'm back in playing it now because of the Steam Deck. And this is Star Trek Online, another game from Cryptic. We just talked about Neverwinter. This game is phenomenal. I love this game, and so I decided for my Steam Deck experience to re-roll a brand new character and go through that entire experience. So that's what I did. But I do have an experienced character on there also, and I switch back and forth now. I actually re-rolled that character, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go back and play my OG character because I had not finished the newer content. All right, one thing you got to remember, like I said, with the Neverwinter game is please turn off on-demand patching. You'll love this game. You'll love it. It just makes it so much better. No more hanging up on transitions to zones and worlds. So let's talk a little bit about this game. How does it run on the Steam Deck? Okay, so I have one gripe with this game is that I kind of wish they just did a one-to-one console port of the controls, and I'm hoping they're going to still do that, but I was able to find a very comfortable control scheme from the community on this, but they could easily just do full support on this. So the game is broken up between two major types of gameplay. There's the ship combat, and then there's ground combat. Let's talk a little bit first about the ship combat. It is amazing. It works extremely well on the Steam Deck. It's so intuitive, so much fun. Everything maps pretty much good to the controller icon. You can use the touchpad. That's what I love about the Steam Deck. You can use touchpad at any time and just augment your control scheme. But the ship combat's awesome. So you'll spend probably 60% of your time in the game doing ship combat, and then the others remaining percent will be in ground combat, in my experience, because I've been playing this game for a long time. And I love this game. It is so fully features. There's so many types of gameplay components in it and sub-features. It is awesome. The ground combat, this is where the game is not quite as fun for me, but they've made it better and better over the years. The ground combat, as you go with an away team, you have very little flexibility and skills. There is like you can build your skill tree out between tech, medic, and assault, being like run and gunner. You can be a tech that does like you can do healing. A healing build. You can do a tech build with turrets and stuff like this. But the ground combat is fairly fun. I love that they have an action camera in there, which really kind of brings that Mass Effect style gameplay aspect to it, which I really like. The game is massive. This game has been out since 2010, and it has had content regularly given to the user base every year, and it is a free to play game. It originally was buy to play. I bought it way back in the day, as with Neverwinter, and then they eventually transitioned to the free to play. But the content is amazing. On Steam, it has on average anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 users on at any given time, which is pretty strong for a 14, 13-year-old MMO. But the game is fun, and the ground combat is starting to get better and better. And it's to the point now where it holds its own. And what I do like about it, even though you don't get tons of skills like traditional MMOs in ground combat, you get enough that makes it feel good. And they rely so much on the lore and everything that makes Star Trek in books and literature, comics, movies, the whole works. They do in this game, and they do it extremely well. You can tell the people who make this game really care about it. So, Star Trek Online, it is a big game. You're like this for me in scope and size. It's much bigger than any of the game I've shown so far, in my opinion. It's just so much to do, so much to explore, so many mini games, so many just fun stuff to do. And if you're a Star Trek fan, you've already played this. If you're not a Star Trek fan, but you're interested in space combat, there's no game out there in the MMO realm that does space combat as good as this. And I would argue there's not a lot of games in general does space combat as good as this one, especially when you factor in that you can play as Klingon, you have Romulan, the Federation. You can play tons. I'm probably forgetting a bunch of species here, but this game is. I don't think you need to be a Star Trek fan to have a whole lot of fun here. And there's so much good story content, and they expand the universe so much. So you can tell I care a lot about Star Trek, and this game is really really fun. Now it is cryptic, so and there's a lot of lock boxes and all that kind of stuff in here. But if you just get rid of that noise and you don't care about it and just play it for the story, you're gonna have a whole lot of fun in this game. The final game on the list, Guild Wars. I'd never played this game before. I was intrigued by it. It showed up on sale on my Steam Deck account, and I'm like, I'm gonna give this a try. I was hankering for something old school, and I decided, Guild Wars. I've heard so much good things about this game, so I jumped into it. I bought it, and I've got to say, after a bit of a learning curve on what it meant to be a Guild Wars player, what Guild Wars is all about, I fell in love with this game. I literally fell in love with this game, and you get three kind of games here in one. You get the original Prophecies, you get the two kind of standalone expansions that came out of the original base game, but really what the focus I'm going to talk about here is purely on Prophecies, because I feel like that for me is a game all by itself. And pure Guild Wars fans will say, oh, you need to play Nightfall, you need to play the other ones, but for me, and the other expansions, but I'm going to just focus on Prophecies here. I I fell in love with this game. And I had no idea if this would even work. This game is so old. I had no idea if it would even run on the Steam Deck. But man, was I pleasantly surprised to find out that it ran. And it runs like butter. So smooth, silky smooth. It's amazing how well it runs. And I'm going to tell you right now, it is amazingly playable on the Steam Deck. It should be a verified game, in my opinion. I don't know what the full reason why it's not verified, but it is fantastic. There's a few settings you have to adjust, like display and all that, that I eventually got to display properly full size on the deck and things like that, but I've not stopped playing this game to the point where I'm very close to finishing this game right now. Like, I went hardcore for I probably put about 15 hours in over a weekend working through it, and going through the regions, like the pre-searing, which I did make a mistake. I got out of that way too early, but lesson learned on this character to Ascalon, Shiver Peaks, Krita, and now I'm at the Crystal Desert. So I'm only probably got about 10 chapters left total, and I'm done with the main story of the game. But this game is remarkable. It is a remarkable game that came out in 2005, so it's almost 20 years old. Like, and if whether when you're watching this now or in the future, it's probably past 20 years old, right? Hopefully, the video is still doing what it needs to do. And it's available on Steam. Now, is there a player base on Steam? No, not really, but it is kind of a single player MMO, to be honest with you, in a lot of ways. It's basically, I've seen people, like, there's usually anywhere from 50 to 100 people around on Steam Deck playing this at any given time. I've seen people in the town. That's where you see other people. And I've learned pretty quick when you go outside of the town, it's just you and your party, your henchmen. And that was a big learning curve. And the game's hard. The game is really hard, so you have to make sure your henchmen are picked correctly and they're supporting you and your class, and you get to choose between two classes. But how does it play on Steam Deck? It is amazing. Controller, I found a controller scheme that worked great for me, and I've had a blast. And I've played this game probably since I did my original It's Playable video, so check that out on the channel. I probably played this game 2-3 times a week. When I need a break from other types of games, I jump in Guild Wars, and it's a bit of a time investment every time I jump in because I'm playing the main story chapters, and each one can range anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour to run through, and if you fail, you got to go start it over again. And the game is hard. The combat's hard. It's not a solo experience. You need either a group of other people, real humans out in the world with you, or henchmen, and they need to complement your playstyle. But this is probably, out of this list, the game that I play probably the most right now. And I cannot wait to graduate out of Prophecies, take my character into, Nightfall, and continue the trilogy and have a blast. Because for me, I want to see this to the end. And there's other expansions to this game too. That have come out, and those for me are separate things I want to do. So you have Guild Wars Factions, Nightfall, and Eye of the North, and I think that's it. I'm not sure though. So I'm gonna do the Prophecy, the base game, and then you have a choice, right? Whether you want to roll a new character or take your character apparently to the next ones. I don't know what I'm gonna do there. Probably gonna keep my character and go forward. So back to the deck. As you can see in the video you're watching right now, that the controls are great. There's some times where you need to use your trackpad, but that's fine. It's there for a reason. For me, it's a part of the control experience. And I've got it to the point now where, since this video is launched, I've got a perfect control scheme. I'm absolutely loving it, and I take it wherever I want to go. And it's just something peaceful playing this game, something fun. And just getting to know the characters in the story is by far one of my favorite MMOs I've experienced. And I feel a little bit of regret now that I wasn't playing this game in 2005. But to be honest with you, I wasn't big into MMOs at that time. I was playing other things. But I think this came out too roughly around the same time of World of Warcraft and Lord of the Rings Online and games like that. So for me, though, you cannot miss. Now, this is a buy-to-play game. So if you want to buy this on, well, I got it on sale. So I've bought the trilogy for $29 Canadian. So check it out on Steam Deck. What the price is currently for you. I think it goes on sale every now and then, but I'm not entirely sure. But it is buy to play, and that's it. There's no microtransactions, nothing like that. You get the trilogy, the original Prophecies, Factions, and Nightfalls included. So I hope you enjoy this video. For me, I absolutely love talking MMOs. I love talking about MMOs on the Steam Deck. It's one of the primary reasons I bought my Steam Deck, but there's so many other awesome games. Let me know in comments what other ones you want me to talk, what other genres that you'd like me to talk more about on the Steam Deck and explore some of those games. But once again, I am Pete. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that subscribe, smash that like button, join the channel, become a channel member. It really means a lot to me. Bye, everyone.